Jessica stood in another really long line in the store. Her arms were laden down with all the things that she was buying as gifts for Christmas. They weren't everything she needed to get, but it was quite a bit. As she stood there in line, she kept thinking, oh, my feet hurt. I just wish this line would hurry up. Besides that, I got to get home and make dinner because after dinner, I need to get back out shopping if I'm ever going to be ready for Christmas. Finally, she made it up to the cash register, and the clerk rang everything up and put it in bags. And as the clerk handed back the credit card to Jessica, she said, "Happy Holidays," in a bright, cheery voice. Jessica looked at her and thought, well, first she said, "And to you too." But her next thought was, I'd rather say, "Bah humbug with this whole thing." And then she laughed at herself and said, I'd make a good Scrooge. Well, as she got close to the door, she set her packages down and bundled up her overcoat, got her scarf tightly around her neck because she knew how cold it was outside, and the wind was blowing. And as she saw out there were a few flurries flying through the air. Once she stepped out on the sidewalk, she was assaulted first by the cold and the wind. But then she was assaulted with something else, a voice of somebody yelling to the shoppers as they passed by. As Jessica walked towards him, as she had to go around him to get to the parking lot, to where the row where her car was, he suddenly stopped and he looked her in the eyes. And his eyes penetrated deep into her soul, almost as if he knew what he saw there. And perhaps he did. He then said in not so subtle voice, "Prepare the way of the Lord. Make room for him in your life." Jessica stood there, frozen for a second, not knowing what to say or to think. But then she quickly made her way around the man, giving him a wide berth. He'd been a man with a dirty and tattered overcoat. She noticed his dirty boots, and his hair was unkempt, and his beard was unkempt as well. She was really shaken by his words. She made her way to the parking lot, to her car, and she opened the trunk and deposited her gifts in the trunk. Opened the door, slid herself in, and settled herself in the driver's seat. She was still kind of shaking from her encounter with this man. She managed to calm herself down a little bit and pulled out of the parking lot onto the main road, which, of course, it was rush hour, made worse by all the people like her that were out shopping and getting ready for Christmas. But as she was driving, and the traffic was moving slow, and even slower because of the flurries, and she wondered why people always have to drive slow when there's just no flurries. She managed to finally make it home and pulled into the garage, closed the garage door, got out and opened her trunk and grabbed the packages and went into the house. As she entered the kitchen, she saw her son there, little Noah, who had taken the Christmas village out of the family room and scattered it to pieces all around the kitchen, all the houses. And then she had taken Mary and Joseph out of the manger scene. And Noah had Mary and Joseph going to each of the houses and asking, "Do you have room for us?" Jessica was a little taken back. Could he really know what he's saying? Could he really know the question he's asking? Well, she made her way to the closet, took her coat off, put it in the closet, put her purse there too, and came back to the kitchen to make dinner. As she came into the kitchen, she nearly stepped on one of the little houses, and she snapped at her son, "Noah, pick this stuff up and put it back where it came from." Noah was obedient and put everything away as he was told. A few minutes later, he was back in the kitchen again, this time with a book tucked under his arm. And he said, "Mommy, would you read the baby Jesus book to me?" Jessica looked at him and said, "Honey, I can't. I've got to make dinner, and then I got to get back out shopping after dinner, if I'm ever going to have everything done in time." Well, their daughter Emily came into the kitchen as well, and Jessica asked her to help set the table and get things ready. Jessica also asked Emily how confirmation had gone that afternoon. And you know how kids are at that age. She answered, "Fine." That was it. And then suddenly Emily did perk up, and she said, "You know, Pastor, she gave us these devotions to do, and do them as a whole family." Well, Jessica said to that, "Emily, I can't do it tonight. I have to get out shopping. And then Emily said, "Well, Mom, I'm sure Pastor meant that all of us were to do it as a family." Jessica said to Emily, "Emily, I can't tonight. It's just going to have to be you, your father, and Noah." Well, dinner was made and set on the table. Everybody ate. Afterwards, her husband, Ryan, said he would clean up the dishes and take care of the kitchen so she could get going. As she made her way to the closet again, she pulled out her coat and her purse, and she started buttoning her coat when she thought of the old man outside her department store and his message in his tattered old coat. And suddenly her purse hit the floor like a brick. She suddenly knew who that man was. She knew that was John the Baptist. Not the one from 2,000 years ago, but very much like him. He was John the Baptist to her. She remembered his message. Prepare the way of the Lord. Make room for him in your life. She remembered Noah's innocent little question, "Do you have room for us?" She remembered Emily actually wanting to do devotions as a family. And she hung up her coat and she called out to Emily, "Bring your devotions. Noah, bring your baby Jesus book. Let's meet in the family room." After the devotions, children settled into bed, and Jessica was sitting there in the family room thinking about all the things that had happened this day or this afternoon, and how God was trying to reach her the entire time. First through John the Baptist, then through her son Noah and Emily and the devotions. And she had a tear in her eye, thinking about all the things God had done for her just that day to encourage her to live in faith. And as she sat there reminiscing, she felt more prepared for the coming of Christmas, for the coming of Christ, than if she had shopped all night long.